Good morning, Charles. How are you today?
Good morning, Dan. Wow, I'm doing so great. How are you?
I'm doing well. I'm doing well. Yeah, had a little bit of a late night last night, but I'm functioning this morning. So
Yeah, you went to that
you sound a
Halloween
little
event you and
congested.
I went to last year, right?
Yeah, the Monster Mash Orlando. So that was a charity event for local restaurants in the downtown Orlando area that I guess had been impacted by the shutting down of the businesses during the pandemic. So
Gotcha.
yeah, so they bring out a lot of different local restaurants to one spot, and they make their best dishes, and there's a wine tasting and there's a whiskey tasting, and they've got music and a drag show and all kinds of fun stuff going on. So everybody dresses up in their best Halloween costumes. We met up with Fred and Velma from Scooby-Doo. It was not Fred and Daphne. I guess part of their crew, their entourage were not present there. So it was just Fred and Velma, but they were dressed well. They were dressed well.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you remember last year, there was a guy dressed as Waldo. That was from when we went. Yeah. So I don't remember who she was, but they made the cover art for the event, but that was who was Fred last night. So
Okay, cool.
yeah, he turned out to be a criminal defense attorney. So
it was nice. Always good to know one of those.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, that was quite an experience because we had not. It's been declining a little bit over the years. We had just talked about that, but my girlfriend and I actually sat down with a tarot card reader who was incredibly accurate and just blew both of our minds away in terms of what she was able to tell us. So specific with her, so specific with me. And I was really impressed. There's things she told us that there's no way that she could have known. So, for all the skeptics out there, I've been skeptical, and I've gone to a few of them before where it's been like, they could kind of pick things up from my reactions and stuff. But this woman was spot on right from the get-go and had no idea. I did not know us beforehand. I mean, there's no way she would have known these things. So there's more out there than we can see with our own eyes, for sure.
It's interesting. We're going to intro our next book, The Four Agreements, today, and the beginning of the book, and we don't have to jump into it right now because I've got stories to tell as well. But the beginning of the book is a little bit woo woo for my tastes, and we'll get into that in a second and talk about that a little bit. I got back from New York on Monday night, and I was up there Saturday, Sunday, Monday, and it was a fun trip. I went and saw a concert at Madison Square Garden, which I'd never done before, and saw Brandi Carlile and her special guests, and it was a really great show. She puts on an amazing show, and I'm going to see her again. Already got tickets to.
Wow.
She's going to play The Gorge out in Washington State with Joni Mitchell, who is going to be doing her first concert since she recovered from the stroke she had.
Oh, wow.
And so it's going to be a Brandi Carlile day and a Joni Mitchell day, but there's going to be probably a bit of overlap on the 2 days. I think Joni may show up at Brandi's concert, and Brandi's definitely going to show up at Joni Mitchell's concert. So, so I already got the exclusive fan club on sale was yesterday, and we were able to pick up a couple of tickets for one of the 2 days. It's like a 2-day festival in June. So got plans to be out in Washington State this summer, apparently, and looking forward to that. Wondering how the logistics of getting one or two RVs out there is going to go, but I've got plenty of time to figure it out.
Oh, wow. So you're not going to fly. You're just going to take the RV.
That's the plan. Yeah. We're going to take at least, we're going to take one, maybe two RVs. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what we come up with.
That's exciting. That's fun. It's a fun thing to have to plan.
Yeah, it's a lot of logistics going into that as far as having a vehicle that can tow mine, and but 6 months is really long. It's longer than that. It's really like 8 months. It's a long time to get all our ducks in a row. So I'm looking forward to figuring out how to make that happen. And went to the concert. Saw Hamilton the following day on Broadway, which it's interesting.
You guys are busy packing it in.
It was a really busy trip. The got some food. The rain kind of impacted my ability to see New York the way I like to see it, which I like to walk everywhere. When I'm in the city, I could really skip Ubers and subways and buses. I want to walk everywhere. I want to get my $40,000-$50,000 step days in when I'm in New York City. But it was just kind of more than a drizzle. It wasn't like really hard downpour, but it was more than drizzle, and it was enough to make walking around unpleasant. And a lot of issues with drainage. Every intersection had a fair amount of water that you had to sort of walk around or jump over, or just assume you're going to get your feet wet. And a lot of trash in the streets, a lot of construction that was impacting sidewalks and stuff like that. It really made me. A year ago, I was in Boston, and as walking cities go, I think Boston might be my favorite now over New York. It's just they do a good job of making Boston very walkable for pedestrian traffic, more than New York City is. But it's a lot smaller, I mean, you don't. It's hard to think about unless you're like flying over New York City. It's ridiculous how much bigger and denser New York is than really any other place in the United States.
How's the temperature?
Temperature was pretty good. Low, I'd say the high was probably mid 60s, maybe even high 60s. Because there were some points on Saturday, the clear day, where walking around, I was just in a t-shirt and jeans, and I was kind of hot in the sun, with the sun shining down. So, but woke up in the morning, it was probably low 50s. And that was a little chilly.
So I saw you went to Italy. And
I did.
And indulged there. What was your favorite thing?
Yeah, we got some desserts there, and I also got what I guess would be considered a pizza. It was a very doughy, thick crust of bread with some prosciutto and mozzarella and tomato sauce on top, and it was really quite delicious. I enjoyed that a lot.
Yeah, it sounds like pizza.
It does sound like pizza. It does. They didn't call it that, but it was a pizza.
Damn copyrights.
Yeah, then I had a lot of other stuff on my list to try.
Yeah.
Renata, who lives up there half the year, was telling me that I had to get a Korean corn dog. She's a big fan of those.
What's on that?
Few places up there.
I haven't heard of that.
Let me look it up. But I don't know what makes it a Korean corn dog. Korean corn dog NYC. Let's see here. I think they might use like some kind of cornflake crust, like on the outside of it, instead of just cornmeal, like a normal corn dog. I said that weird. Corn dog. Let's see. Lies in the batter. American corn dogs are battered in cornmeal. Korean corn dogs are battered in a yeasted dough or a rice flour batter.
Okay.
They also finish them with a sprinkling of sugar. So there we are.
So it's a sweet and savory type of thing. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So I didn't get to try one of those because just walking, in the rain, walking to a place that had them was just not going to happen. I didn't want to do it. And then there's a donut place that she recommends very highly as well called Donut Plant that I wanted to go to, but again, just the weather did not make it a real possibility. Also, we were a little crunched for time. Our flight back on Monday was at like 4:20 in the afternoon out of Newark. So that does,
get back in for that.
Get to the airport, a couple hours early, and you got to go from Penn Station to Newark's airport. And yeah, it all adds up to not a ton of stuff to do on a Monday.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. It's not quick for sure. Yeah.
No,
my time up in that area, going to New York and stuff like that, just traveling in and commuting in for work and stuff like that. That moving around and getting to where you need to be is time consuming up there. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I remember when I used to fly up there for work, when I was doing work with you and Dick, it was, I would try to get like the 545 Delta up to LaGuardia or Kennedy, and then, it would land by, I would say, 8:45 or so. But you still couldn't count on getting to the office where you're going to meet the client till at least 11. It's a lot of just, because back then I would occasionally check a bag and stuff when I needed to, if it was a longer engagement, and you get the bag, you get the rental car, or you wait for the car service, or you take a taxi or whatever. It just, traffic on the tunnels, traffic on the bridges. It takes a long while to get anywhere up there.
Sure. Yep. So
I read something of a guy who drove from Philadelphia to New York City and ended up spending $111 on bridge tolls just to go from Philly to New York City.
What? Oh my God.
I know they've really jacked those up recently, I guess.
That's unreal.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, thank God.
And so, I caught a cold on the way back. I tested negative for COVID on Tuesday. Today's Friday. I'll probably take another test today just to make sure, but I haven't had any issues with breathing. It's all been just really bad congestion and post-nasal drip. So I don't think it's COVID.
Yeah.
But
no, I don't think so.
It still sucks.
It's never pleasant. Yeah. It just, saps you from, and that happens to me from travel and stuff too. We were just talking about that, I've been, whenever I travel now, I'm a little bit anal about it, but I pack extra vitamins. I pack, I'll pack, I don't normally take vitamin C or, like elderberry extract, but that's stuff I take for colds and stuff like that. And I will take that before I leave. And then when I get to the place, I'll take it just in case as like a more of a proactive type of, preventative type of thing.
Sure.
And then I end up washing my hands more often, while I'm traveling and stuff. It's just, you never know, for me, it's, ever since I started doing that, I've gotten sick less, just cause new environments. And you're not staying in, crappy hotels or anything else like that, but it's just, I think there's a lot when it comes to our health that we don't realize in terms of, just changes in bacteria, right? In terms of the environments that we're in, not necessarily that it's bad bacteria or anything else like that, but just environments that we're not used to. And, one of the other things too is, and I don't know where this, how this lines up, but whenever I'll take my pillowcase when I travel and I'll use that on top of the pillows that wherever I'm staying, and I tend to sleep a little bit better. And it's not like I have some magical pillowcase or anything like that, but I'm just wondering if again, it could be related to some sort of microorganisms or some sort of, I don't know. And so I try to make as much as I can possibly, similar to my home environment as possible. Traveling seemed to keep me healthy. Yeah.
Traveling is definitely tough on the body, and you add in you're trying to pack your schedule full of exciting stuff to do, and eating new foods and all the
staying up later, getting up earlier, maybe
exactly all the different stuff that you do when you're not at home. It does have an impact, and I often will get sick when especially when I fly someplace. Even road trips, sometimes I'll feel like I got a bit of a cold when I get back, and usually I can get over it pretty quickly, but this one's dragging a little bit. Really, I shouldn't complain too much. It's really been a Wednesday, Thursday, Friday thing so far, but I don't know. We'll see. You and I have plans to get together with our gals tomorrow night for some Halloweening, so hopefully I'll be ready for that tomorrow night.
Yeah. I hope so. I hope you keep making progress. So
as soon as I'm done,
you're doing the podcast today, so
yeah, gotta give the people what they want. I've also, for our Patreon subscribers, I've got a little bit of a cache of the video episodes that I need to upload, but I've been having so much trouble with my internet at my new place where, uploading video episodes to YouTube and then making those links available to our Patreon subscribers has been literally impossible with the internet situation I've been dealing with. So I've still got them all. They're not going anywhere, but and you'll have every episode that you're promised. It's just they're kind of stacking up a little bit. I'm gonna if I feel better this weekend on Sunday, I'm just gonna go down to my Starbucks because most of those have like Google quality fiber connections to the internet, so I could just sit there and upload all of them at my local Starbucks. I just haven't had the time or the wellness to be able to pull that off here in the last few days. But I'm going to work on trying to get that done this weekend.
Good. Yeah. It's coming, guys. Be patient.
I promise it's coming. And you'll get full video too, whether you like it or not. In days like today, I look rough, but it is what it is.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, hoping the Halloween stuff will be fun. I'm ready for Christmas. I'm ready to start celebrating with Christmas food and Christmas decorations and all that nonsense. I'm ready for Halloween to be over and start the Thanksgiving and Christmas anticipation.
And the most important question here is, what are you going as for Halloween? I don't know if we've talked about it yet, have we?
I don't think we have. So I did a photo shoot on Tuesday at the nursing home where I had on a purple cutaway jacket and a jack-o'-lantern head. And so I did some pictures. I'll send you one of those real quick, Dan, so you can have a look with some of the residents that they seem to really enjoy.
Yeah. Now, you usually dress up as Santa too, don't you?
I did Easter Bunny.
Bunny. That's what it was. That's right.
And I think I might do an elf or something this year for Christmas, but I did Easter Bunny most recently. But yeah, here's I just texted it to you. Here's me with some of the old folks at the nursing home that I contract with. It's like, hey everybody, your computers are going to just sit there for a minute while I take these pictures.
That's a scary looking pumpkin head, and it's so. Oh my god, the residents are hysterical. Holy cow, yeah. They're all scared. Oh, they got their scared face on. That's great.
Yeah, Ashley, the activities director, told them to all look scared in the pictures, and they were happy to do it.
Oh, they're good.
Yeah, I know.
I mean, it's like right out of a movie.
I know, it was good.
Hysterical.
It was fun.
That's great. Oh,
yeah,
nice.
But
nice.
Saturday, my gal and I are dressing up as two characters from Ted Lasso. We're going to do Roy and Keeley from Ted Lasso. So I'm going to wear effectively a soccer outfit, and she's going to wear a somewhat bright and shiny outfit that an influencer / minor celebrity would wear.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, looking forward to it. Hopefully, we'll get some good pictures. What are you guys going as?
So I am going as a fireman, and my girl's going as a Dalmatian. And
that's a cute couple's outfit.
So she even has a fire hydrant purse that
nice
to carry around. I've got a little axe and everything. So mine isn't that stunning, but having the accompaniment of the Dalmatian along, it works. So.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a nice combo. All right, so let's talk a little bit about the four agreements. And as I referenced, man, the first part of it was a little tough for me to get through because I am the eternal skeptic, and I have low tolerance for anything that I would consider to be woo woo. And there's a bit of woo woo in the beginning of this book.
There is, and so I just kind of wanted to back up here. Is what. This was your suggestion to do the four agreements. Where did you hear about this book, and what motivated you to want to cover this?
I've had 2 or 3 friends who read the same kind of stuff that you and I frequently read say that this was a good book that I could get some stuff out of, and I think that I will, absolutely. It's just the very beginning of it is. I appreciate that people have experiences, and those experiences sort of trip something in their own intuition that makes them say, yeah, this feels like I've stumbled onto something about the way the world works, the way people work, the way reality works, and I've got something here. And it sounds like the author definitely did that. He locked in on something. He had an experience where he felt like, okay, I've got an insight into the way things really are, not the way that I've been taught to believe that they are. And a lot of what he says makes sense. But, there's always this part of my brain that's telling me, okay, this is just one guy's experience. This is just one guy's opinion. There's, he's not attempting to offer evidence to say that things are this way. He's just saying that things really seem this way to me. And that can be enough. That can be enough to still, get sharing some of his insights that he stumbled upon. And I'm hoping to do that. And the actual content of the 4 agreements themselves do intuitively seem like they make sense, and that you can have a richer life if you sign on to seeing things this way. But the part about, the mirrors and the smoke and the stars and the light, a lot of that stuff just kind of does trip off some of the alarm bells that I always have in my mind of, okay, somebody's trying to sell me on something without any evidence. And some of those alarm bells did go off for me.
Yeah, that's interesting. So, can you be a little bit more specific and kind of dig in a little bit when you say the smoke and the mirrors and stuff like that? Is that in terms of what he's referencing here? And what was,
to be completely honest, so that was the beginning. I got an audio copy of the book that may be a couple revisions older than what he's currently got on like Audible. Oh, and okay. I don't know. I don't know what's currently out there. I wasn't going to use one of my credits for a 2.5 hour audiobook because that just seems like a bad bargain. But the copy I listened to, it's narrated by Peter Coyote, who's an actor that's been in some stuff that I really like, and he reads it. And he talks. There's a little bit of stuff about how we're the light between the stars, and he's talking about an experience by somebody who's studying to be a shaman, I think. And Yep. Okay, so I want to make sure that we had the same narrative path that we listened to,
right?
And this person has some realizations about going out and seeing millions of stars in the sky, and this realization that we're the light between the stars, and we're all God and God is us, and it's stuff that it's some feel good stuff, and it's stuff that I can't fault anybody for finding some value in, but again, I'm just a little bit more skeptical, and I don't know what the word to say is, because anything I say about scientifically minded or evidence based, it feels, the connotation of that is a little bit of, I feel like I'm better than other people, and I don't want to communicate that, because look, people have their perspectives, and people are able to figure things out that I don't figure out, and they can look to sources for information that I'm not comfortable looking for, and that does not make me smarter than them or them more insightful than me. It just means that we have a different way of approaching the world, and I want to make that clear, that I'm not crapping on this guy's way of coming across this information, because I think the conclusions that he comes to are very solid, and I think there's a lot of stuff in there for me to learn. But when I hear certain language used, like a lot of the stuff that I don't know if you've read any of Deepak Chopra's stuff, but a lot of the efforts that he takes to make sort of the metaphysical connect to the scientific, it's a little hard for me to listen to, and it kind of puts me on edge a little bit, and has me asking, okay, what's this guy trying to pull over on me? And there was a little bit of that at the very beginning of this book. But once he got into the first agreement, it seems like that's all been kind of left behind. And all he's talking about is people, and how people work, and how people are, indoctrinated or institutionalized or domesticated, I think is the word that he used. And all that rings extremely true for me. That all sounds very reasonable and very logical based on my own experiences.
Yeah, I feel, I know the story that you're talking about, and I took it as just kind of like a story to try to illustrate a point and a belief. I don't know if that was actually, I didn't quite take it as something that absolutely happened, No,
I assume it didn't happen. I assume it was just something that, and that's another thing when authors of self-help books do that, where they make a story. And I've been struggling with that a lot with the 5 a.m. Club recently, which I think is a good book, and setting up a good early morning routine I think is very valuable. But one of the main characters of this book is a billionaire industrialist who has this this way of starting his day at 5 o'clock every morning. You know, when you're a guy who writes self-help books and you're not a billionaire industrialist, but you want the street cred of a billionaire industrialist, oh, it's easy. All you do is just make a fictional story where your main character is a billionaire industrialist and have your main character tell people what they should do at 5 o'clock in the morning because, I'm just some self-help guru who wrote a few books. That's not good enough to get people excited about doing what you want them to do at 5 a.m. But if you make up a story about a guy who's, worth $100 billion and he does this every morning, then it's a lot easier for me to say, oh, I should do that too.
For sure. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
and it does feel, it feels a little cheap. It feels a little like, okay, well, I stumbled onto this really great early morning routine, but who am I? I'm just some guy that writes self-help books. Nobody's going to listen to me. So I'll make up a story where the main character is, some super wealthy billionaire who, has chateaus all over and beach getaways all over the world. And I'll make him tell people that they should do this. And then they'll be like, oh, I should do this too.
Yeah, no, I think that's a little bit more of a, I don't think that's what's happening here.
No, I don't either. No, I don't either.
Because he kind of like lets that go, and like you said, when he gets into the four agreements, it's very much, it makes sense, in terms of the way people, interact and the effects that, the agreements have. And, with that 5, I didn't realize that was the case with the 5 a.m. club. That's a little deceptive. That's like a fake testimonial, basically. That's the way I look at it, right? And another thing that, and I thought 5 a.m. club may be a book that you and I would cover at some point, but at this point I'm going to finish it, but I'm not really that excited about it because, you can get all the goods. Just Google 5 a.m. club summary and watch a YouTube video, and you'll get all the good stuff from it without having to buy the book and listen to it. But the other thing that the author says a lot in the book is people these days, and talks about how, people these days are lazy and unmotivated and they're comfortable with mediocrity and blah, blah, blah. And whenever anybody tries to sell me on to buy into their premise of their book, I have to believe that people today are completely different from the way people have ever been before. It's pretty easy for me to say bullshit. People have always been pretty much the same. I mean, we have a society now where you can have a pretty comfortable life doing the bare minimum. And a lot of people choose to do that in their work, which we'll speak directly to that with one of the 4 agreements. But, when people have jobs that they're not very excited about, they're not very passionate about, but somebody has to do those jobs anyway, and people decide to react to that by doing the bare minimum and just trying to get by, I don't think that means that people these days are inherently different from people, who have existed throughout human history. I feel like doing the bare minimum to get by is, especially when you're not passionate or excited about something, when you're just working for, some faceless corporation, or you're a serf working for the lord of the manor in Europe in the Dark Ages or whatever, you're going to do what you have to do to get by. And you're not going to be very excited about doing very much more than that unless, you have some bigger purpose that you feel like you're feeding into. And I don't think that that's unique about, America in 2022. I think that's just the way people operate. So whenever anybody, tries to convince me that, people today are completely different from the way humans have ever been before, and, we've crafted a society where people get to behave in this special, unique way that is, so different. It's like, I don't buy that. I think people have always been people, and people are always going to be people, and people are going to behave the way that they need to survive. And if that's all they have in them is, I need to do enough to, pay my bills, to keep a roof over my head and food in my belly, then you shouldn't expect that they're going to put a lot more passion or drive or ambition into what it is that they're working on than just that. Yeah, 100%. I mean, biologically, our brains are wired to conserve energy in order for us to survive on the planet. Right.
Exactly.
So if you are just, if you're not excited about your job or your career, you're going to do the bare minimum. Why would you waste energy to do more unless you see like a direct benefit from that in some way, right? So maybe you can do more and you'd earn more money by doing more, your job a little bit better at, where it is. But that's not always the case, and
Right. Exactly.
a lot of times, you're just doing it to bring in enough money to put food on the table and survive. And so why exert extra energy there? You need that energy for other things, or you'd rather spend that energy on other things that get you more excited. I think what we can say is, in this day and age, there are more opportunities to do things and earn money from things that you are passionate about, that
Sure.
that I think there's a lot more options and a lot easier opportunities and a lot more availability to be able to earn money in ways that do get you excited. And that's, and I would say that's maybe a difference between, primitive times and medieval times and now. But I think, physically we are wired to conserve energy. So if you're not excited about your job, you're not going to put extra energy into it. It makes total sense.
I agree there. You do have more flexibility today than you probably ever have before, as far as being able to, jump from one thing that you're not excited about to something that you might be more excited about, where in the past, you were kind of born into what you were born into, and that was that.
Yeah.
But so, all right, let's talk about what the 4 agreements are, and then you and I will do a deep dive in the coming weeks to all 4 of them. And if you've read the 5th agreement too, so you can talk a little bit about that at the end as well.
Yep. Yeah.
Okay, so the first one is be impeccable with your word, and this one isn't exactly what it sounds like on the surface, because it's not just, when you hear be impeccable with your word, the connotation that came to mind for me right off the bat was, it means, never be dishonest, never say you're going to do something and then not do it. But it's a little bit bigger than that, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. It definitely touches on the impact, and it kind of goes into, a little bit of, where a lot of things that we don't realize, just the words that we use, the impact that it has, the ripple effect that it has on us and others.
Right.
And so it's really, and being impeccable means, for me, I that's exactly how I took it initially was, don't lie. Don't
right, exactly.
Don't lie and don't be deceiving, but it's a lot more than that. It's really kind of building up an awareness of spoken word and probably written word at this point too, right?
Sure.
What any type of communication that you're putting out there, it's really just a kind of a building an awareness of the impacts that it has.
Yeah, I think we take for granted all the time that the power that our words have, because we're just so used to communicating the way that we communicate with people. But when you think about it, I mean, the purpose of language is to take ideas that are in your head and put them in other people's heads, and that's a pretty powerful responsibility. I mean, you can change somebody's attitude, you can change their state, you can change their opinion just by verbalizing or writing down the things that are in your head, so that they can read it or hear it, and now it's in their head, and they make the choice whether to accept that or reject that. But be impeccable with your word doesn't just mean do the things you say you're going to do. It means speak with integrity. It means just say what you mean. Don't speak against yourself. Don't gossip about other people. Don't try to cause fear or pain in other people or in yourself. Instead, just use your words in a way that you can be proud of, and that you're making the world a better place, not a worse place. And that's a pretty big commitment to take on. But I like that in the intro, he talks about how you can, when you fail to meet these 4 agreements on a daily basis, you can always start again tomorrow. And, that's always good to remember. You don't have to adopt resolutions once a year, every day, really every moment, but easily every day is an opportunity to start over with something like this.
Yeah. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, go please, after you.
Yeah, no, I was just going to say, with the health coaching, that was another big thing that they really tried to help you as a coach to help your clients understand too, is the same thing. Is you have, you fall off the wagon and you have, one bad meal. You don't need to wait till the next week
Right.
to start again. You don't have to wait till the next month. You don't have to wait till a new year to start again. Start with the very next meal, right?
Sure.
And same concept here, right? Is, and just take the pressure off, and just understand you're human. You're not going to be perfect. You're not going to get it right. And, the closer you get to, or the more quickly you can recover from, not being impeccable with your word or violating the other agreements, that's, the better off I think you're going to be. The other thing that was interesting for me was that, he kind of framed these agreements as, basically these are our beliefs, right? We have all these agreements, in terms of in the world that we come up with, and these are really the things that we have come to believe. We say, yes, I agree with that statement. I agree with that idea. And that's what he's talking about. When he says agreements, it's kind of, it's kind of like beliefs, right? The things
Right.
that we have been, we've learned from parents, from friends, from teachers, from being in the world and hearing and experiencing things. We decide, okay, I heard this and I agree with this. And now when you agree with it, it becomes a belief and then eventually becomes part of your identity at some point as well.
Yeah, that's a great point. And, people should not make the mistake of thinking, okay, before I read or listened to this book, I had 0 agreements. Now at the end of it, I'm going to have 4. It's like, no, you're made up of thousands of agreements already, that you have signed on to, whether you meant to or not. And this is just saying, hey, these are the 4 that these are 4 new ones that you can take on for yourself, and it will make life better and richer than some of the agreements that you sort of subconsciously signed on with and that you've been living your life according to, based on, like you said, friends, family, society, whatever, religion. I mean, you've got all these agreements bouncing around in your head that you unconsciously sign on to every day. And this is saying, hey, here's these 4 that you can learn about, and you can make the decision to adopt these 4 agreements at the expense of some of the other ones that maybe aren't serving you as well as they could be.
Yeah. And this is a good case in point where, Don is being very, impeccable with his word, because what he's doing is he is changing the word belief and he's using the word agreement. And I know in my mind, whenever I hear belief, I feel, well, that's very difficult to change. Like, I feel like you need all this evidence,
Right.
and you need all these other experiences in order to change and it's a monster mountain of an effort to change a belief. But he's not using the word beliefs here. He's using the word agreements. It's just like, it's very easy to go, I just don't agree with that.
Right.
And that helped me when he was using the words agreement in terms of, things that really are, I would consider with myself a belief, in different things. By changing the word simply to agreement, it made it a lot easier for me to go, maybe I'm wrong about that. Or maybe that's not exactly right. And that already started to kind of loosen things up in my mind and help me. And that's one thing I appreciated about this.
Yeah, let's talk about the second one. Don't take anything personally. Boy, that's a tough one, isn't it?
Oh, yeah, because it's always about us, right? It's and was it this one or the first agreement where he's talking about words can be kind of poisonous in terms of, and it's basically, if somebody is saying things that are negative to you, it's a kind of a form of poison, and it's up to you to determine whether you want to take that poison in or not. I don't remember if that was this one or the first one, but, it's, but that's right. I mean, I took, again, from that second agreement, I took basically it's, don't take it personally, because you don't know what that person is going through. It's they're communicating based on their experiences, and it's got nothing to do with you.
Yeah. And, the converse of that is true as well, that the way that you, interact with other people is more about you than it is about them. And the way they interact with you is going to be more about them than it is about you. And, the way you choose to hear people, the way you choose to see people, that has to do with who you are, and maybe not so much to do with who they are, and it kind of cuts both ways, right?
Exactly. And the point he makes is really that we all are only living in our own world, our own version of reality, our own, which is based on our experiences, not anybody else's. So we don't, there's no way we can, there really is no universal reality or truth, where everybody agrees that, this is the way things are, because everybody has different experiences, different takes. So that's why you shouldn't take anything personally, because it's just based on the reality the other person is living in and their experiences. So,
yeah, I mean, yeah. I have no doubt that there is some sort of objective reality for the way things really are. But to believe that humans evolved our five senses to perceive what that is makes no sense whatsoever. We evolved our five senses so that we could survive the transition from living in trees to living in, on the grasslands of the savannah. And we're like, you and I talk about when it comes to, health and fitness and diet and exercise, we're still living off the hardware of the hunter gatherers who learned to make our advancement from being monkeys in trees to being tribes people that would look for berries and look for animals to eat. And so the idea that our brains and our minds and our consciousness are prepared to understand objective reality as it really is, it's like, why would we understand that? That has nothing to do with keeping us alive long enough to pass our genes to the next generation, or keeping us alive, long enough to the next hunt occurs, right? Yeah. And so, yeah, there's nothing in it for us biologically to understand the base nature of objective reality. All that's in it for us is to stay alive and to stay, have enough calories to keep us alive till next winter, and have enough winters behind us till we get old enough to mate and pass our genes on. And so everybody is living on that same blueprint of, we're just trying to stay alive long enough to reproduce and pass our genes along. And the ability to be happy or perceive objective reality, those are a distant second to what evolution has decided our most primary needs are. And so, yeah, you're not going to walk around understanding things the way they really are. You're going to understand things the way your brain tells you to understand them, so that you can stay alive.
Right. And, and because of that, everybody has their own, version of that. Right?
Exactly.
So then when they say something to you, you can't take it personally, because that's based on, what, again, their reality, what they've, how they've been grown up, the agreements, and the beliefs that they have crafted from being domesticated, so to speak. So that's, so therefore it's really not, it's a poor reflection of you, anything that they say.
Right. And so the good news is, when you are immune to accepting everybody's opinion of you as being real, there's a lot less suffering that you have in your future, when you can just say, okay, everybody has all these opinions of who I am or who I should be, and those opinions of me are based on their own personal experiences. I don't have to sign on to any of them. I can keep the ones that I find helpful, and I can discard the ones that I find unhelpful. And you can, make yourself better as a result of just not buying into the ones that don't work for you.
Right. Yeah. And, I don't think he went into a lot of detail in the Four Agreements about that, because, and I think we were talking about this, it could mean like, oh, I'm not going to pay attention to anything anybody says, because it's not, but that's not what he's saying here. And I think that was kind of what led to the Fifth Agreement, which is be skeptical, but learn to listen. And so, it means, right. So that, I think, kind of covers this base here, where you could basically go, well, if I'm not going to take anything personally, and everybody, has a different, experience, then nothing anybody says, I shouldn't have to listen to anything anybody says. I can do whatever I want, whenever I want. And that's not exactly what he was saying. So the Fifth Agreement kind of goes into that a little bit and says, hey, be skeptical, but learn to listen and, just hear people out and, ask things like, is this the truth or is this not,
Yeah.
and what is this? So, I think that's important to mention.
Okay. Here's another tough one. Agreement number 3, don't make assumptions.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So instead of assuming that what people are saying or what it is that they want, have the courage to ask questions and try to get to the bottom of what it is that they really need so that you can then decide whether that's a need you're willing or able to meet for them.
And, I've been guilty of this too, is it does take vulnerability and courage to ask questions for sure, because you're basically admitting you don't know something. And that is, my brain and body is pre-wired to automatically sort of feel a little anxious when I say, or I admit, to myself, even I don't know something, it's not a great feeling. And then to, have to come to somebody else that obviously is somewhat meaningful to you in your life to say, hey, you're identifying an issue, you're identifying the fact that you now don't have it all together, right? You're making yourself a little bit vulnerable. You haven't have it all figured out. Those things are not easy to do. And to be honest with you, growing up, I don't feel like I was taught very well how to really ask questions or how to or have an experience to where it's not as scary to ask questions. I don't know. I just think about sitting in class, and as a kid, and raising your hand was already your kind of, if you had a question. A lot of times, I would not fully understand what a teacher had gone through in class because I was just scared to raise my hand because I didn't want to stand out from the crowd, and meanwhile, afterwards you talk to some of your friends and they'd be like, oh, I didn't know that either. I didn't understand that either. And, you come to find out that if one of us had just raised our hand and asked the teacher to clarify it, we all would have been so much better for it, but everybody's too scared to do it, and I rarely, I think in college it started to get a little bit better, but then, it was a classroom full of like 500 people, sometimes an auditorium, and to sit and raise your hand. And that was even more intimidating, even though you're a bit older. So, I think that's a tough thing to say, all right, it's a lot easier just to make an assumption and go with it and take a best guess and go with it.
Yeah. I remember there were times in school where, sometimes teachers don't meet with that request in a way that helps. When you raise your hand and say, "Hey, can you go over that? I don't understand," then they'll say something like, "Well, you should have been paying attention." It's like,
I've heard that many times.
Yeah, and
sure.
I have seen some students say, "Oh, I was paying attention. It just still wasn't clear to me. Can you please go over it again?"
Right, because now
that takes a lot of courage.
Right, because the teacher is now defensive, right? Like they've been doing it. They may be teaching this class for years, thinking they're, they're checking all the boxes here, and they're like, teacher of the year or whatever.
Right.
And then for a student to say, "Hey, you're not being clear," now it's almost you're almost insulting the teacher. You're almost sort of like, "Hey, yeah." You're doing something that's not optimal here. You're not getting the job done, right? You're criticizing the authority figure in the room. You got to have some balls.
It can be difficult. Absolutely.
Yeah.
It can be difficult. Okay. The last one, always do your best. This is what we referenced this a little bit, as far as, when you have an unfulfilling job or, job you don't like, you're not passionate about, you're going to feel this impulse to do the least amount that you can to get by. The good news is, if you do work hard, if you do your best, you may find that can be a source of fulfillment for you that you didn't expect. Like, when you've got some entry-level job in retail or in food service where you're, just stocking shelves or washing dishes, and your impulse is just to do as little as you can to sort of bide your time and get to the end of the shift and get your paycheck. In some cases, if you work hard, if you do your best, you can get something out of that as far as, a feeling of, okay, I put in 8 hours of work for 8 hours of pay, and this feels good. And that could lead to promotions or accolades from your supervisor or your colleagues. Sometimes it doesn't lead to any of that stuff. And all you get is the feeling that you did your best. And, that can either feel encouraging, or it can feel like, okay, I am wasting my time putting in effort for something that I don't find valuable. Nobody else finds valuable. Why do I continue to do this? But I would say without that exercise of try to do it your best at least once, you're not going to know whether you're leaving something on the table or not. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And, he references the fact that he kind of paints a picture that a lot of us beat ourselves up. We're our hardest critic. And what he says is, if you are always doing your best, then when that critic pops up in your head, it's easier to settle down a little bit and silence that critic, because you can say, hey, I did the best I could. It's not, right. You didn't, like you just said, you didn't leave anything on the table. And he, also mentions that the best changes from moment to moment. So like, for a perfect example today, Charles, you're sick, you know what I'm saying? But you're doing the podcast, you're doing the best you can. It's not going to be as good as when you're healthy, but because, you're doing your best, the end result isn't going to be as good today, but the thing is, though, you can sleep well knowing, you put as much effort as you possibly could forward, and you did your best, and you can kind of silence that critic. And again, that kind of comes back to it reinforces being impeccable with your word. And the word is to yourself in this point, right? Is that critic now is less, can't say anything to you, that inner critic, because you did your best. You left nothing on the table, and that is actually going to, again, I think, have a ripple effect and make you feel a little bit better. You might be able to sleep a little bit deeper and, get a little bit more energy, and you might actually get healthier sooner, because of these little things that you're reducing the stress, the daily stress of yourself, because your critic has been silenced. Right. Yeah. So I think, it's important here to say, look, you're not, the end result, when you say always do your best, the end result isn't going to be the same. It's going to be based on the environment and what you're going through. But it's more about, I think, silencing that, that inner critic that you have. And, the other thing when it comes to, doing your best on things, my experience in life is, there's a lot of times you don't realize that, when you're doing something, who is watching, and then maybe who is remembering that and communicates when you're not around. And so, for me, I ended up, finding my job, with, working with my, the IT job, because I was just doing my best for a customer, and I had no idea I was going to be offered, to be a partner in a company because of this one experience that I did with a customer. I had no idea. And he approached me, and he had actually, he had gone to worked with a couple of different consultants. And the other consultants actually said to me, he's like, well, why didn't he ask me to join his company? And I don't know, but it's just a lot of things you don't realize the impact that you have. People will notice when you're working hard, when you're doing your best. And sometimes those are some nice surprises that pop up in life down the road.
Yeah, absolutely. I will offer this caution. The declaration that you did your best is great to silence the inner critic. Don't try to use it to silence the outer critic. When somebody comes to you with any kind of a critique of the quality of your work, it is best not to tell them, but I did my best. Because that could be dangerous in a professional setting. When somebody says, hey, I had an expectation for you completing this task and it's not good enough, and then you tell them, but you did your best, then that's saying to them, okay, I did my best and my best wasn't good enough. Maybe it's time for you to find somebody else to do my job. And so because I've heard people say that before, where, a boss confronts them and says, hey, this wasn't up to what I was expecting, but I did my best. Okay, well, what you're communicating to that person is your best isn't good enough, and they need to find somebody else whose best is at a higher level. So be real careful about trying to justify not getting the job done to somebody else's satisfaction by saying, I did my best. There are a lot of other things you can say in that scenario, like, where do you think I fell short? What do you think I need to work on? How could I have, done this differently? But don't go straight to, but I did my best, because that's not going to work in your favor when it comes to dealing with another person whose job it is to evaluate your performance.
Right. Yeah. And that kind of falls back on the third agreement, is don't make assumptions that, what you delivered is exactly what they wanted. Right. So that means you have to ask some questions. Like you said, is, hey, yeah, let's get that communication going again and say, hey, listen, there was some sort of gap between my understanding of what was needed and what your expectations were. So I think that's where you need to be brave and you need to ask questions.
Yeah. And you don't know, their expectation could have been, well, I expected you to work 80 hours a week for 3 weeks until this was done, so that, I saw that you were putting in the effort that I thought that it took. And you can say, oh, okay, I understand. That's not what I was willing to do, nor is it what I would be willing to do in the future. So we should probably have a talk about that.
Yeah.
But definitely, all these agreements really do go hand in hand with each other, don't they?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. They definitely, one supports the other.
Yeah. All right, Dan, I think I'm about ready to call it here. I've my voice is about at the end of what it's capable of for today.
Well, I think you did your best, so I appreciate it. I appreciate you slugging through this, and I still think it was pretty good.
Thanks, me too. All right, let's go ahead and we'll end there and pick up on agreement number 1 and do a little bit of a deep dive next week.
Sounds good, sir. We'll talk to you later.
All right, bye.
Bye-bye.